New York's streets were alive with their usual chaos: honking cars, neon lights, and the constant hum of a city that never slept. Emily Carter stepped out of her office building, the weight of the day pressing on her shoulders. She had been working at a marketing firm for 5 years, always putting in long hours, handling major projects, yet recognition seemed just out of reach. Promotions were elusive, and her contributions often went unnoticed. That night, Emily went out with her 2 closest friends, Sarah and Mia. "Tonight, no work, no stress," Sarah said, lifting her cocktail glass. Mia laughed, agreed. "Let's just have fun before Monday ruins everything." They found a small rooftop bar overlooking Manhattan's skyline. The lights of the city stretched endlessly, bright and alive. The 3 of them danced, laughed, and shared stories, light-hearted fun, carefree moments that had nothing to do with deadlines, meetings, or expectations. For a few hours, Emily felt free, alive, and completely herself. It was there that she met Daniel Wright, calm, confident, and intriguing. He approached their table with a polite smile. "Mind if I join? Seems like you 3 are having more fun than the rest of the city." Emily hesitated but nodded. "Sure, we're just celebrating life for a bit." The conversation was casual about the city, work, and dreams, but there was an undeniable spark of curiosity and connection. Laughter came easily, and for a few fleeting hours, the pressures of Emily's life seemed miles away. By the next morning, Daniel was gone. On the table lay a small note: "No regrets. Take care of yourself." Emily tried to move on. It was just one night. Focus on work. Focus on what matters. By Monday, the office was buzzing. Emails piled up, meetings were postponed, and whispers circulated. "New CEO is joining today." Emily didn't pay much attention. CEO or not, she had work to do. The HR director called a meeting. Emily entered the conference room, composed and professional. The doors opened. Her heart stopped. Daniel Wright. The same calm, confident man from the rooftop, now in a tailored suit, radiating authority and power. He was the new CEO. Memories of that night surged back. Her hands went cold, but she reminded herself, "I am here because of my work, my talent, and my dedication." The first meeting was purely professional. Daniel addressed the board, laid out his vision, spoke with precision. He never mentioned that night, never hinted at recognition of Emily personally, but when their eyes met, a silent acknowledgement passed between them: respect, not attraction. Later, an email from Daniel appeared. Subject: Strategy Review, 7:30 p.m. From Daniel Wright. Emily's pulse quickened. Professional or personal? She took a deep breath. "I will not let this define me." The following week brought intense pressure. Daniel's new protocols, tight deadlines, and client demands tested every part of Emily's skill and resilience. Some colleagues whispered that her connection with the CEO was giving her an advantage. Emily ignored it, focusing on her work and her team. Late one night, reviewing slides for a major client, Emily looked at her reflection in the glass wall, tired but determined. "This is leadership, strength, responsibility, integrity." Daniel entered quietly. "You're pushing yourself hard," he said, "but you're inspiring your team too. That's rare." Emily nodded. "They deserve it. And I deserve to know I did everything I could." Then came the biggest challenge: a company merger. Departments were shuffled, positions uncertain. Emily was chosen to lead her team through the transition. Rumors, doubts, and envy swirled around her, but she focused on guiding her team with clarity and fairness. Late one evening, she stayed behind to finalize plans. She whispered to herself, "Leadership is not popularity, it's responsibility and courage." A senior executive suggested taking shortcuts to appease the board and secure her team's positions. Emily refused. She investigated thoroughly, defended her team member, and ensured fairness prevailed. Integrity won the day. Morale rose, and Emily's reputation as a fair and capable leader solidified. Daniel observed quietly, respecting boundaries and offering guidance only when asked. He realized leadership wasn't about authority alone. It was about empowering others, building trust, and letting talent shine. One evening, on the office balcony overlooking the Manhattan skyline, Daniel said, "That night on the rooftop seemed so trivial now, but it reminded me, life can surprise you. First impressions aren't everything." Emily smiled. "It was just a night of fun, but what matters is how we handle what comes after. Choices, integrity, and standing by yourself, that's what shapes us." Daniel nodded. "You've done more than survive, Emily. You've grown. That's rare. Emily felt quiet satisfaction. Life would continue to test her, but courage, self-respect, and unwavering principles would always guide her. Finally, Emily walked out of the office one evening with a calm certainty. The city hummed around her, bright and relentless. The rooftop night, the unexpected CEO, the pressures of work, it had all tested her. Daniel waited outside. They exchanged a silent acknowledgement. No drama, no unfinished business, just respect. You've made your choices clear, Daniel said. I respect them. Emily smiled. She knew the real lesson. Success, recognition, even admiration were meaningful, but self-respect, integrity, and staying true to your principles were far more powerful. She thought of the rooftop bar night and realized it wasn't about that fleeting fun, it was about how she handled everything after. The pressure, the challenges, the choices. As she walked through New York, lights glittering around her, Emily carried a truth stronger than any title or fleeting attraction. Know your worth. Protect it. Never compromise. Emily Carter had passed every test life threw at her. She hadn't just survived, she had grown into a leader, an inspiration, and an empowered woman ready for anything. And with that, she disappeared into the city lights, stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. Monday morning in New York carried a different energy. The streets buzzed with honking cars and hurried footsteps. But inside Emily Carter's office, a tense silence seemed to hover. Everyone was whispering, exchanging glances, and checking their phones more than usual. The news had spread. A new CEO was joining the company. Emily tried to focus on her work, reminding herself, this is business. Stay professional. But a small part of her couldn't help but remember the rooftop night, the laughter, the freedom, the fleeting connection with Daniel Wright. The HR director called a company-wide meeting. Emily entered the room, keeping her posture straight and expression neutral. The doors opened, and there he was, Daniel Wright. Same calm, intriguing presence from that rooftop bar, now dressed in a sharp suit, radiating authority. He was the new CEO. Emily felt her pulse quicken. The man she had met casually, laughed with, and shared a playful night was now the one responsible for the company she had dedicated years to. Memories from that night surged back, but she reminded herself, I am here because of my work and my talent, not because of him. The meeting proceeded professionally. Daniel addressed the board and the staff with clarity and vision. He never mentioned their past encounter, never gave her any special acknowledgement. Yet when their eyes met for a brief second, Emily felt a quiet, unspoken understanding, respect, not familiarity. By the end of the day, Emily received an email from Daniel. Subject, Strategy Review, 7:30 p.m. from Daniel Wright. Her heart skipped a beat. Professional or personal? She shook her head and focused. I will not let this define me. That evening, the meeting for the strategy review began. Daniel was precise, demanding, and insightful. He asked tough questions, expected clear answers, and observed every reaction. Emily realized quickly, he wasn't testing her personally, he was testing her professionalism, her ability to lead, and her resilience under pressure. She answered every question with clarity, backed every suggestion with reasoning, and demonstrated leadership skills she hadn't fully acknowledged in herself until that moment. Daniel listened silently, occasionally nodding, never interrupting, but clearly evaluating her performance. After the meeting, Daniel looked at her. I didn't plan for that rooftop night to happen, but I respect you. What happened will not define your career here. Emily met his gaze steadily. Good, because my work should speak for itself. A faint, approving smile crossed Daniel's face, calm, measured, respectful, not flirtatious, just acknowledgement of her integrity, determination, and capability. The week that followed was intense. Daniel implemented new protocols, tighter deadlines, and high expectations. Some colleagues whispered that Emily was getting preferential treatment. Others doubted her abilities. She ignored all of it, focusing on her work and guiding her team. Late one night, Emily sat alone in the office, reviewing slides and plans. The Manhattan skyline stretched outside, glittering and endless. She reflected, this is what leadership feels like, not the title, not the power, but responsibility, clarity, and integrity. Daniel quietly entered the room. You're pushing yourself hard, he said, but your team notices. That's rare. Emily nodded. They deserve it. And I need to know I'm doing everything I can. The following days brought even bigger challenges. The company announced a major merger, departments were being reshuffled, layoffs were likely, and Emily's team was at the center of it. Pressure mounted immediately. She pulled her team together and said, "We succeed together, no shortcuts. We plan, we execute, and we rise with integrity. That's how we'll win." Her team, inspired, worked late into the night. Emily reviewed every plan, guided every step, and ensured fairness and clarity. By the end, their work exceeded expectations. The board recognized Emily's leadership and results. Daniel personally acknowledged her in the meeting. "This success belongs to you, Emily Carter. Your leadership, dedication, and integrity made this happen." For Emily, it wasn't just about recognition, it was proof that integrity, focus, and self-respect were stronger than rumors, office politics, or pressure. That evening, walking through New York streets, Emily realized one important truth. The rooftop night was just a moment of fun. What truly defined her career and her life were her choices, her courage, and her principles. And Daniel, watching from his office window, realized something too. Leadership wasn't about authority alone. It was about empowering others, respecting boundaries, and letting talent shine. Emily Carter's mornings had begun to feel heavier than the city itself. The merger had been announced, departments were reorganized, and the office was alive with tension. People whispered, speculated, and watched each other closely. Emily had survived the first wave of challenges, but new ones kept arriving, complex, unpredictable, and high-stakes. One Monday, a senior executive called her aside. "Emily, your work is impressive, but some board members feel you might be too strict. Sometimes, flexibility gets better results." Emily looked him in the eye. "Flexibility doesn't mean compromising my principles. I will not take shortcuts with people's careers or integrity." He hesitated, clearly frustrated, but she remained calm. Emily knew leadership was not about being popular, it was about making the right decisions, even if they are difficult. That night, she stayed late in the office, reviewing strategies for her team and upcoming campaigns. Outside, the Manhattan skyline sparkled 1,000 tiny lights reflecting the countless challenges of the city. She thought about the rooftop bar night, about Daniel Wright, and about the week's chaos. Each moment had tested her resolve, yet strengthened her character. Daniel walked in quietly. "You're pushing yourself hard," he said, observing her. "But your team is noticing. That's rare." Emily looked up, tired but determined. "They deserve guidance, and I need to know I've done everything I can." The next few days were a whirlwind. Some colleagues whispered about favoritism, others openly questioned her decisions, but Emily focused on what she could control: her work, her team, and her integrity. Then came the real challenge. A client project had been mishandled, and one of Emily's team members was being blamed unfairly. Others suggested letting it slide to avoid board scrutiny, but Emily refused. She investigated, presented facts, and defended her team member. Justice prevailed, and her decision reinforced her reputation as a leader who stands by her principles. Throughout all this, Daniel remained an observer, never overstepping, offering guidance only when asked. Emily realized something important. True leadership is about empowering others, respecting boundaries, and letting merit speak. By the end of the week, Emily's team had navigated the restructuring successfully. Morale improved, and the board recognized her efforts. Daniel personally acknowledged her in the meeting. "This is leadership at its finest. Emily Carter has demonstrated skill, resilience, and integrity. She sets an example for everyone here." Emily felt pride, but it wasn't just professional pride. It was validation that self-respect, courage, and unwavering principles were the forces that would guide her in life. That evening, as she left the office and stepped into the glowing streets of New York, Emily thought, the rooftop night was fleeting. But what followed, how she handled challenges, pressure, and decisions defined her true strength. Daniel watched from his office window, realizing that leadership was more than authority, it was character, courage, and the ability to inspire others by example. Emily knew the real test wasn't surviving the merger or impressing the CEO. It was staying true to herself, and for the first time in her career, she felt completely certain she could do it. Emily Carter's mornings had started to feel heavier than ever. The merger was complete, teams were reshuffled, and the office buzzed with a mix of excitement and tension. Every decision now carried weight, not just for her career, but for the futures of her team members. One senior executive approached her. "Emily, The board is impressed, but some think you might be too rigid. Sometimes flexibility helps to navigate politics. Emily stood tall. Flexibility doesn't mean compromising integrity. I will not take shortcuts with people's careers or values. The executive tried to argue but saw she was firm. Emily knew leadership wasn't about popularity. It was about doing the right thing, even when it's difficult. Late one evening, Emily sat alone in her office, reviewing campaigns and transition plans. Outside, Manhattan's skyline glittered with infinite lights, a reflection of endless challenges and opportunities. She thought about that rooftop night, the playful laughter, and Daniel Wright, but she realized the night was just a moment of fun. The real story was what followed: the choices, the integrity, and the courage. Daniel quietly entered the office. "You've handled everything remarkably," he said. "I've seen many people crumble under this pressure, but you," Emily didn't look up. "It's not about me. Leadership isn't about titles, it's responsibility." Daniel nodded, clearly impressed. "You've proven something important. Strength isn't loud, it's quiet, consistent, and principled." The next challenge arrived swiftly. A high-stakes campaign went wrong, and a team member was unfairly blamed. Many suggested ignoring the problem to protect the company's image. Emily refused. She investigated thoroughly, defended her team, and ensured fairness prevailed. The board initially hesitated, but by the end of the week, her integrity and decisiveness had won the day. Morale improved, and Emily's leadership was recognized and respected. Daniel observed quietly, learning something himself. Leadership is empowering others, respecting boundaries, and letting talent shine without interference. One evening, on the office balcony overlooking Manhattan, Daniel spoke. "That night on the rooftop seems trivial now, but it reminded me that life can surprise you. First impressions aren't everything." Emily smiled. "It was a night of fun, but what matters is how we handle what comes after. Choices, integrity, and standing by yourself, that's what shapes us." Daniel nodded. "You've done more than survive, Emily. You've grown. That's rare." Emily felt quiet satisfaction. Life would continue testing her, but courage, self-respect, and principles would guide her. She realized that personal connection and professional success could coexist, but only when respect, boundaries, and integrity were maintained. As the city hummed below, Emily knew she was ready. She had faced rumors, pressure, and challenges and emerged stronger, wiser, and more confident than ever. The real test wasn't the rooftop night, or Daniel, or the merger. It was standing firm in her values while navigating a world that constantly tried to distract, challenge, or mislead her. And Emily Carter had passed that test with flying colors. Emily Carter walked out of the office that evening with a sense of calm she hadn't felt in years. The merger, the campaigns, the challenges, they had all tested her, but she had emerged stronger. Not because of luck, not because of anyone else's influence, but because she had stayed true to herself. Daniel Wright waited by the entrance. For a moment, they simply looked at each other, the city lights reflecting in their eyes. No words were needed. Respect, trust, and understanding passed silently between them. "You've made your choices clear," Daniel said finally, "and I respect them more than anything." Emily smiled. She felt a quiet power inside her. She knew that success, recognition, even admiration were meaningful, but they were nothing compared to self-respect, integrity, and staying true to your principles. She thought back to that rooftop night, the fun, the laughter, the fleeting moment of distraction. It had seemed insignificant at the time, yet it had set the stage for everything that followed. But the real story was not about that night. It was about how she had handled everything after it. The challenges, the pressure, the difficult decisions. As she walked through the glowing streets of New York, Emily carried a truth stronger than any title, any promotion, or any fleeting attraction. Know your worth, protect it, never compromise. She had passed every test life threw at her. She hadn't just survived, she had grown into a leader, an inspiration, and an empowered woman ready for anything. And with that realization, she disappeared into the city lights, stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. The rooftop night, the unexpected CEO, the whirlwind of work and pressure, it had all been part of her journey. But in the end, Emily's story wasn't about anyone else. It was about her courage, her choices, and her unwavering commitment to herself. And that was a lesson she would carry for the rest of her life. Life will challenge you, test your values, and push you to the edge. But the strength to succeed lies not in circumstance, but in your ability to stand firm, stay true, and rise above every obstacle. Emily Carter had done exactly that, and now, nothing could stop her.